In this video, we will try to understand a very important concept termed as single page applications or SPA. Now, single page applications or SPA is nothing but it is a concept. In this concept, what we do is, rather than loading the whole web page again and again, we go and we create a shell page. You can term this as a shell page. You can term this as a master page. So in these master pages, there are some certain fixed sections like left menu, footer, header, right menu. So all of these sections are loaded only once. And after that, the dynamic section of the page is loaded on demand. So basically, single page application is nothing but it is a concept where only the necessary sections of the pages are loaded and not the whole page. So what I will do is, in order to demonstrate single page application using Angular, let me go and create two pages here. So let me go and create two pages. So what I will do is, I will not put this thing as a part of the project because that will confuse the project a lot, right? So I will just make you understand these concepts separately. So let me go and add a new item here. So let us go and add a page over here. So let me add a HTML page here. This is page 1. Okay. So in this page 1, I will say this is div tag. This is page 1, right? Let me go and create one more page here. Page 2. I can just copy this. Copy and paste. So this is page 2, right? Page 2. Now these pages, page 1 and page 2, I would like to load inside a shell page. Okay. So what I will do is, let me go and add one more page here. You can term this page as a shell page, or you can term this page as a master page, right? So I'll say this is a master page, right? So in the master page, there are certain fixed sections here. So master page. Okay. So in this is a fixed section. Okay. And somewhere here, I would like to load inside this div tag over here. I would like to go and load so over here, I would like to go and load page 1 and page 2. Now when this page 1 and page 2 is loaded in this section, I don't want the whole master page to refresh. I just want that this section of the div should get refreshed, right? So with that, what will happen? You will get a very nice user experience. So think about it. The user has clicked on one side of the page, something is loading in that page, and on the other side he is doing some other work. So basically, single page application concept helps to improve the user experience. And in order to load page 1 and page 2 in this page here, what I will do is, I will go and I will create two anchor tags. So I will say anchor href. So anchor href. So here I will load page 1. So this anchor tag will load page 1, right? And this anchor tag will load page 2. Okay. Page 2. Now, in order to do single page application, we need two things. One is, we definitely need the AngularJS file. So we definitely need AngularJS file. And second is, we need Angular route file or Angular route.js. Now remember, I said that one is we have core Angular, and then a lot of other things from Angular has been created. Now remember that this single page application is not the goal of Angular. Angular was never created to create single page applications. I have seen that whenever I'm taking training, and if I ask people what is the need of Angular, I see a lot of students saying single page application. No, Angular was created to do binding. It is a binding framework, but this framework became so famous that People wanted to do single page applications, people wanted Angular grid, people wanted this, that. That's where, a lot of other modules of Angular were created. So this Angular.js file, the core Angular.js file, is meant only to do binding. In case you want to do single page application, then we need something else. So let us go to NuGet packages. So I'm going to go to NuGet here, right? And in that, let us go and search Angular route. So say AngularJS. So you can see that this is Angular core and Angular core is only for bindings. It is only to do the MVW framework. This is only for bindings. But because of the popularity of Angular, you can see that there are other modules which has been created. And at this moment, because we want to do single page application, we will be using AngularJS route. So let us go and install this. So there it is installing. We say OK. So there the whole thing is installed, and you can see over here we have the Angular route.js. So let us go and reference Angular route.js in our file. Now the sequence of the Angular files are as follows. So first you should have your core file, and after that you should have the dependent file. So because this Angular route.js is a module which is dependent on Angular, so that's why I have kept this file second in sequence. Now the next thing is we need to go and define an app. Remember that in Angular you at least need an app. Now in this page here, I'm not going to go and create a controller because my goal here is to load web pages and not to create any kind of objects of JavaScript, right? So I will not need any controllers, at least in this page, but I would definitely need an app. So I'm going to go and create an app, and let me also go and initialize this app. So I'm going to go and initialize this app. Let me copy the code of the app initialization from our previous code. There it is. So you can see now here I am initializing my app, and in this page I am not creating any controller. So I am not using ng controller. It is not that you cannot use a ng controller, but in this page I don't need it, right? Because my main goal here is to load this page 1 and page 2 HTML pages inside the div tag. And to load the pages or to do SPA, we do not need controllers or JavaScript objects. Till now, we have only used core Angular. But in this case, we are also going to go and use one more external module other than core Angular, that is route. So when we say Angular.module, we have to also load this dependent module. So in order to go and load this Angular route.js, we need to go and specify over here ng route. So inside this square bracket, you need to go and specify the modules on which you are dependent other than the core module. Core module is loaded by itself, but this Angular route.js will not be. It is an external module other than the core module. So I have also specified that I want to go and load the ng route, which is a dependent module. We also need to go and specify in this div tag the directive ngView. This ngView directive belongs to the Angular route.js. So wherever we want to load our view, we have actually applied the ngView directive. Now let us go and watch these anchor tags very closely. If you see at this moment, these anchor tags are referring page 1 and page 2.html. So when we click on these anchor tags, it will actually go and load the full page. It will actually go and redirect to that page and show you page 1.html. If you click on this anchor tag, it will go to the page 2.html, right? It will open up in a new browser. We don't want that, right? We want to do single page application, means we want that this master page should stay where it is and the page 1 should load inside this div tag. But the time we give a href value to this, when we give a value to the href, it will actually go and try to load that page in a separate browser, right? So this kind of href will not work, right? So we need to go and specify a inline href. So here we will go and say hash page 1, and here we will say hash page 2. When you give a hash in the href, it actually tries to go again inside the same HTML. It does not reload the page, but it actually goes and tries to search inline in the document if there is an anchor tag with page 1, right? So here we are specifying page 1 and page 2 as inline anchor tags. So with that, what will happen when somebody clicks on this page 1, it will not go to that page. It will actually try to search inside the same HTML. Now, when these anchor tags are clicked, it will actually try to send that event to the page itself. And what we want is, we want that Angular route should catch these anchor tag values. So it should catch these page 1 and page 2 and try to load the HTML inside this ng view, right? So for that, we need to go and specify the config for the route provider. So you can see that I have pasted a code here, and this code is available in the project also, which is uploaded on QuestPonVD. So over here I'm saying that when you see the anchor value as page 1, then please go and load page1.html. When you go and see the anchor value as page 2, then go and load page2.html. And it will go and load the page values where it will load it inside the ng view. And one more important point to remember here is that you can have only one ng view in a page. So you cannot have multiple ng views, right? So over here, this long when statement specifies that when the anchor value is page 1, then load page1.html. When the anchor value is page 2, then load page2.html. So when the user goes and clicks on this anchor tag here, it re-enters this body, and here we catch this when statement and we try to load the page, right? So let us go ahead and run this page. Let us see that if we can go and see if page 1 and page 2 are loading inside the ng view or not. So I have done a control F5. So you can see that there my page is running. So when I click on page 1, you can see it is loading inside the ng view. When I click on page 2, it is loading again inside the ng view. And you can see that my master page is not refreshing. Just to quickly check if the master page is not refreshing or not, let us do like this. Let us go and put an alert over here saying loaded. So when I first time go to the page here, right, I will see this alert saying loaded. Okay. But you can see that when I click on this page 1, I don't see that alert. That means when I click on page 1 and page 2, it is not reloading the full page. So we have this master page, and inside this master page, our Angular route.js is just loading the minimum HTML. So it is not loading the full page. In case it was loading the full page, then I would have seen this alert over here like this, right? But you can see that I don't see that. So that means our single page application concept is working. And also, one of the great features which is given by Angular route is that you can also go and pass controllers. Means what? For example, now let us say that this page1.html needs some controllers here, right? Controllers, Angular controllers. So what you can do is you can go and create a controller here. For example, you can go and see say here, you know, my controller $scope. You need to definitely register this controller. So my app dot controller, right? So if you remember, we register the controller here, and then this controller object you can go and pass it to page 1 by saying like this, controller colon and the name of it. And inside the page1.html, now they can easily go and access this controller object. So basically, from the main file or from the main master page, you can go and create your controller objects, and you can supply it to your views down below. So this is again one more feature which is provided by Angular route. But now there are a couple of issues with Angular route. One of the biggest issue with Angular route is that you can have only one view in the main page. So you can have only one ng view, and definitely, when we talk about real-time projects, you would like to have multiple views loaded and unloaded, right? So this is the first limitation of Angular route. The second is that all the views are represented by a URL. So we need some better representation here, because what happens is, you will end up with lot of URLs mapping to lot of views, and that can really create confusion. So if we can have better representation of mapping the views, rather than the URL names, if we can have something else. So basically, these are the two big problems with Angular route. One is the multiple views, and the other one is that, can we have some other representation other than the URL? And that's where exactly we have this great framework, and this framework is my personal favorite, when it comes to single page application, and that is Angular UI router.js. So let me go and install this. If you see this Angular UI router.js, what it does is, rather than going and representing views by URL names, it actually uses states. So when you say that, okay, you want to go and go from one view to other view, he thinks every view as a state. So in simple words, here is a diagrammatic representation of how Angular UI routes things internally. So Angular UI route actually helps to implement SPA concept using the concept of states. So what it does is, every view he thinks it's a state, and when you go from one state to other state, at that time it actually goes and navigates to that view. So in short, Angular UI route visualizes every view as a state. So let us go ahead and do the same example what we have done with Angular route.js using Angular UI route.js now. So whatever this example we have done by Angular route.js, let us go and repeat the same example by using Angular UI router.js. So what I will do is, first let me go and make a copy of this master page here. So I'm going to go and make a copy of this master page. So this master page here is the example which is done by using Angular route, and this one here I will rename this as master Angular UI, right? So I will use this page to show the same example by using Angular UI route. So the first thing what we will do is, let us go and import Angular UI route.js in our page, and to load the Angular UI router.js module, we need to go and say UI.router, and the way we had configured Angular route.js, if you remember, we had this route provider. In the same way, for Angular UI router.js, we have something called as a state provider. So you can see now, so let me go and delete this. We don't need this anymore, right? So you can see over here I am saying, okay, use the state provider, and in the state provider let us have two states. One state which will help us to go to page 1, and the other state which will help us to go to page 2. Okay, so I will say this will go to page 1.html, and this will go to page 2.html. And when you want to go from one page to other page, what you can also do is, you can also specify the URL. So it's not that you can just specify the states. One is that you can use the states to go from one state to other state, but other is that you can also go and specify here the URL structure. So in case if you wish, you can also go and browse using the page, the URLs also. So to go to page 1, you can either use this state, or you can either use this URL. To go to page 2, you can either use this state page 2, or you can use the page 2 URL, right? So you can see that Angular UI router.js helps you to specify navigation from one view to other view by using both states as well as URLs. And also we need to go and specify the section where the views can be loaded, right? So if you remember, in Angular route we had this ng view, right? So over here what we need to do is we need to go and use the UI hyphen view. So inside this your views will be loaded. So we have now page 1 and page 2. So let us say I want to go and browse from page 1 to page 2. So if you want to go and browse using the states, so in other words, if you want to go to page 1 by using the state name, you can just use this tag here or use this attribute UI hyphen sref. S stands for state. So I'll say that, okay, if somebody clicks on this, go to page 1 state. Also you have the liberty now to use the URL as well. So in case you want to go and use the URL, you can say href page 2. So you can see here this anchor tag here uses the states to browse from one view to other view, while this anchor tag here uses the URL to browse from one view to other view. So let me go and run this. So there our application is running, and you can see that the alert has executed because this is the first time the page is loading, right? Now you can see that we have two URLs. This page 1 uses the states for navigation, while the page 2 uses the URL. So when I click on page 1, you can see that it is loading page 1. When I click on page 2, it is loading page 2. And also you can see that the alert is not seen. So that means that the single page application concept is working perfectly nice. And a lot of times, we do not want to load the full HTML. We just want to load some HTML content. For example, over here, if you see at this moment, I'm actually loading the full HTML, right? But let us say I want to just load some HTML content. What I can do is I can go and make this as just template. So I can say this is just a template, and in this template just load this small HTML content. Okay, so if I run this will only load this HTML content. So if you want to load the full page, you will say template URL. If you want to just load the HTML content, you will just say template. So this loads the full page, and you can see that this is loading the HTML content. So that bold tag is loaded in the view, right? So in case you want to go and load only simple HTML snippet, you can use template. For URL, use template URL. Let us talk about some complicated situations in single page application. One of the biggest requirement we will always have in SPA is that we want to load multiple views, or I will say rather nested views. Nested views means, for example, we have the main page or the main master view, right? Let us say we click on that main view, we are popped up with a view, some kind of a view. Now what we want is, we want that inside the view also, when I click, I should be able to load some other view. So basically there is one more requirement, which frequently comes in, are nested views. And Angular UI router helps for nested views because it has something called as nested states. So for example, what we can do here is we can say that this page 1 has a nested view, right? So we'll name this nested view as page 1 dot child view. Okay, page 1 dot child view. And in order to go and refer from the URL, you can say page 1 dot child view. And what I will do is I will not create a separate page here. Let us just go and load a template. So I will say in this, just put a small HTML text called as I am a child nested view. And then in page 1, what we can do is we can go and define something like this. So in page 1, what I can do is I can go here and say please load the child view. So you can see that I'm using the state name here, and the child view will get loaded over here. So you can see now this page 1 also has a view section, and the master page also has a view section. So you can see inside this view will be loaded. Okay, so quickly I will reiterate what I've done. First thing, I've defined a state which is a child state. So this child view is a state of page 1. In that I have defined a template, and in page 1 I said that I can browse to page 1.child view. Okay, so let us go and run this. Let us see if it works. So there our site is running. So that alert is loaded for the first time. So now I'll go in the page 1, and you can see that this is page 1, and you can again see that there is a tag here called as page 1. Let me just name this a child view. Let me just say this is child view. Okay, right. So page 1, and there is a child view inside it. So I can go to page 2, I can go to page 1, and then when I click on child view, it displays the child view inside the page 1, and the page 1 view is displayed inside the master page. Again I repeat, so we have the master page view. Inside that we are displaying the page 1 view, and inside page 1 view we are having a child view. So basically now we have nested views, or we can rather say we have support for multiple views on the same page. This was not possible with Angular route. Also you can go and specify controllers to a view. For example, you can see that I have specified a controller, and let me just go and put here hi. Okay, so you can also see that we have specified a controller. So in order to specify a controller, you have to just say controller and whatever is the code. In case you create a controller outside, in case you do not want to write an inline controller like this, you can always go and create a controller and then pass the controller name here. So if I run this, I will see a hi. So you can see when I click on, so you can see that as soon as the page loads, the controller object is created, right? And you can see that alert hi. Now remember that that alert hi will be seen only when you click on page 1. For example, you can see page 2 is here, but again when I click on page 1 and when it reloads for the first time, you can see the hi over here. Why? Because this controller is only connected with page 1. And in case you want to go and pass a parameter to the controller, you can go and specify something like this. You can say page 1, then curly brackets, and if you wish, for this ID you can also go and specify some kind of a validation as well. So you can say that in this ID it should be only from 0 to 9, and minimum character 4 and maximum 4. So you can go and specify a regular expression for the ID. In case you are new to regular expression, my suggestion is to go and watch the regular expression video in the .NET Fundamentals, where we explained how to write a regular expression. But over here we have put a very simple regular expression check on the ID, saying that this ID should only take numeric and should only take 4 characters maximum and 4 characters minimum. So in other words, only 4 characters can be present. And if you want to go and access this parameter, you can say here $state params.id. So now I can go and browse to page 1. At this moment you can see that there is no ID, so it does not display anything, but I can go and say like this. I can say here page 1 and then 1 2 3 4. So you can see that I can see the value 1 2 3 4, and in case I put some bad value, you can see that it does not do anything. It does not load my view actually. Okay, and in case I put a proper value, you can see that he is loading my view, right? So again, you can always go and use pass parameters and specify validations using regular expression. So that was the end of this single page application video. In this video, what we did is we talked about two important frameworks which are used in Angular very widely. One is we talked about Angular Route.js, and the other one we talked about Angular UI Router.js. Very quickly recapping between both of them, frankly, Angular Route.js is very academic, it is very basic. So in case you have very simple requirements, it will work. But when you talk about complicated requirements, multiple views, and you also want a parameter, etc., then Angular UI Router.js is a right approach. Or I will rather suggest that just use Angular UI Router.js rather than Angular Route.js. So the basic difference between both of these frameworks is that in Angular Route.js, I cannot have a multiple views, while in Angular UI Router.js, I can have multiple views. In Angular Route.js, your URL, it actually points to a view using a URL, and that can be quite confusing a lot of times. While in Angular UI Router.js, they use states. So states are clean, and you don't have to specify a complicated URL for a view, right? And also at the same lines, it also provides the URL structure also, so it supports both of them. But primarily Angular UI Router.js thinks in terms of states rather than URLs. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and in case you want the code, you can go and see the code from this project. In this project itself, the same Angular customer project, I have created two pages. One is the master page, where I have demonstrated Angular Route.js, and then there is master page Angular UI, where I have demonstrated Angular UI.html. Okay. So thank you very much, and again a very small request, in case really if you like our session, please go to facebook.com/questpond and let us know that on which lab you are on currently, and let us know that what you want to see more in Angular. Let us know that what we are doing good, and as well as what we are doing not properly or bad, so that we can improve. Thank you very much.